Could the Steelers trade Najee Harris to the New York Giants at some point during the 2024 NFL season? I'll react to an article from Bleacher Report that predicts just as much. Then we'll get into an NFL analyst that rips Justin Fields in a recent interview, and I'll react to that. And then we'll finish up today's show with a report here that Art Rooney II, the Steelers owner, is taking over Cam Heyward negotiations for his new contract and what that could imply here about his new deal as we approach the season. And guys, make sure you guys stick around to the end of today's show, because I'm going to be revealing who is the leading candidate to be the Steelers' number 2 wide receiver as things are currently constructed before the start of Steelers training camp this year. But before we get into today's content, help us join the 55,000 subscriber club here at Chat Sports. We're only 17 subscribers away, all right? And there's only 9 other channels in Chat Sports right now that have at least 55,000. So help us get into the top 10 right now of Chat Sports channels by clicking that thumbs up icon, or not thumbs up, click that subscribe button right now. And I got to tell you guys this, all right? Lots of people that watch this show, they're already subscribed. Those people can't help out this number. It is the new people. It is the new viewers that are watching us for the first time or the second time or haven't clicked that subscribe button just yet. It's you guys that can help us get over the finish line. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button, you want daily and free Steelers content here on YouTube, help us get to 55K by clicking that subscribe button. Okay, now let's get to the top story on today's edition of Steelers News and Rumors, which is an article from Bleacher Report that suggests that Najee Harris could be traded to the Giants at some point this season. Here is what Ryan Fowler from Bleacher Report has as the trade idea. So Najee Harris would go to the New York Giants, and all the Steelers get back is a 2025 6th-round pick. Okay, so just like a nothing pick in 2025, and then you get a 4th-round pick in 2026. This is what Fowler had to say about this trade idea. Considering the Steelers declined Harris's 5th-year option, a move sooner rather than later would present Pittsburgh with some remnants of a return, even if it's a late round or compensatory selection. New York Giants already roster 3 former Steelers in Allen Robinson, Gunnar Olszewski, and Miles Boykin, a nod towards Joe Schoen's likeness of Steelers skill players. A move would benefit both sides, allowing Jaylen Warren to take over Pittsburgh's backfield and Harris to get a fresh start in a different conference alongside Devin Singletary. So here's the deal. When it comes to Najee Harris, guys, I don't think, in fact, I know for sure he is not going to get traded before this season, plain and simply, okay? But if the Steelers struggle out of the gate and we get to the trade deadline and it's obvious the Steelers aren't making the playoffs this year, then that's when the conversations around Najee Harris and trading him away for a draft pick or 2, that's when those conversations are going to happen, because I think that they prefer Jaylen Warren to Najee Harris, at least for the long-term future. If that wasn't the case, they probably would have picked up his 5th-year option this year. And if the Steelers really aren't in the playoff race by the time that the trade deadline comes around, I would have to think that Najee Harris could be on the trade block. But man, if the Steelers are playing well, I think that he's going to be a big part of this offense. And at the end of the day, I don't think Najee Harris will be traded at any point during this season. Now, if you were Steelers GM Omar Khan and the Steelers were out of the playoffs, okay, and you got this offer at the trade deadline to send Najee Harris to the New York Giants, would you take this trade? Type A if you'd accept it, or type D if you would decline it. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know what you would do in this scenario. Now moving on here to Kyle Brandt, former host of Good Morning Football, if you watched that show. And he kind of ripped into Justin Fields, new backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, in a recent interview. This is what he had to say about the new backup signal caller here in Pittsburgh. I got a few. I mean, it's cheap. It's really cheap. He's a burst player. He'll give you an amazing quarter or a great half, but usually it ends up losing for the Bears. And it's a lot of the time his fault. There was this amazing civil war between the Fields apologists and the people that were actually saying it's his fault. The answer was both. The Steelers or the Bears didn't support him, and he didn't make a lot of poor plays, or he did make a lot of poor plays in big moments. You'll get something, but I don't think you'll get it consistently. And you know what? I have to agree with Kyle Brandt here, because, you know, you look at the film and you look at the highlights and all these different things from Justin Fields. Yeah, the highlight tape is impressive, especially when it comes to what he was able to do with his legs. But you look at the whole thing, all right? You look at the entire picture. there's a lot of really bad reps on tape for Justin Fields, and a lot of them are his fault. It's not on his offensive line. It's not on his receivers. He has an open receiver and he either doesn't see him or he doesn't throw an accurate football. Now, my scouting report on him is I love his size. He's maybe the best rushing quarterback in football. That's probably his biggest strength. He's got really great arm strength as well, and he does have some playmaking chops as well. But when it comes to pure drop-back passing, the mental processing, right, the ball placement to all levels of the field, and then the fact that he was the worst quarterback in the clutch over the last 3 seasons, that tells me that Justin Fields is like a nice backup option that, can come in and can win you some football games, but he's not going to be a consistent every week starter for an NFL franchise, at least not to what we've seen to this point in his career. And that is accompanied by reports coming out of Steelers OTAs that he's struggling with the same issues: ball placement, mental processing, getting through his reads. Yeah, he's in a new offense, and OTA practices aren't real football, so we'll see how he plays when the pads come on in Latrobe here later this month. But, it's not looking like Justin Fields is a legit competitor to be the Steelers starting quarterback, and the only way he's going to get on the field is if Russell Wilson plays so terribly, and that's where I'm at with Justin Fields. I like that he's here. I think he's an awesome backup. I think he's a great high-potential plan B option if Russell Wilson doesn't turn out the way that we hope that he's going to turn out. But the idea that he's going to come in here and he's going to be this awesome quarterback and he's going to start over Russell Wilson in week 1, it's just not going to happen, and that's okay, all right? That is absolutely okay. Now, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon right now if you're happy that the Pittsburgh Steelers have Justin Fields. I know I am. I love that he's here. I think he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the National Football League today. And if Russell Wilson, God forbid, goes down with an injury, I think that this is something that I would absolutely love to see Justin Fields as a backup option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And coming up here, we got more Steelers content coming your way. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And you can get a Justin Fields jersey from our friends at Fanatics today when you go to chatsports.com/fields. And if you use that link and you want to help out the channel, all you got to do is click that link. I'll put it in the comments and description of today's show. You click that link, you make a purchase, and Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds. So if you want to get a Justin Fields jersey, you're planning on getting one regardless, and you want to help out the channel, this is your opportunity to do so. Go to chatsports.com/fields to get your officially licensed Justin Fields Steelers jersey in your closet today. Now moving on to the Art Rooney, Cam Heyward stuff. The Athletic's Mark Kaboly claims that Steelers owner Art Rooney II will make sure that the Pittsburgh Steelers secure Cam Heyward at some point. Art Rooney II is obviously a big fan of Cam. He's been a company man ever since he was drafted all those years back ago, and he's been a phenomenal player for almost a decade here in Pittsburgh, okay? But I think that Art Rooney, the owner, should stay out of it and let the GM handle the GM stuff, all right? Because right now we have to face facts. The Pittsburgh Steelers are currently spending the most out of any team in football on defense, and they're paying the least on offense. This is an offensive league, okay? So if you're going to be paying Cam Heyward an aging defensive tackle, top 5 defensive tackle money, you better be pretty damn sure he's going to be worth that contract. And I'd like the Steelers to play this year out. I'm not against bringing back Cam Heyward after this season is over, but I think that there's a lot of things that could happen during the 2024 season where, you don't necessarily need to bring back Cam Heyward for the 2025 campaign. And something you have to take into account here is, what if Keanu Benton is just an absolute stud, right? Are you going to pay, both of those guys, especially an aging Cam Heyward? I don't know. What if the groin injury from last year really affects Cam Heyward's game heading into this year? Who knows? What if he gets hurt again? There's a lot of things that could happen that could make signing Cam Heyward to an extension extremely costly for this football team. All right, so I'm not necessarily against bringing him back in future years, but I think you have to let this year play out because he is coming off that groin injury. He did have surgery on it this offseason, and you need to make sure he can still be that all-pro caliber player if you are going to pay him that big contract. So now let's shift finally here to our final topic, which is surrounding the wide receiver 2 position. Okay, and the feeling around the Steelers building is that Van Jefferson is the favorite to be the Steelers' number 2 receiver heading into training camp. Now, he's going to have to earn it, right? Because, let's face it, his production hasn't been great the last couple seasons. All right, he's dealt with injuries. But he is 27 years old, so he's not ancient, right? He's 6'1", 200 pounds, and runs a 4.39 40-yard dash time. So this is a deep threat that's big. He's a good run blocker. Okay, so he fits what Arthur Smith wants in a number 2 wide receiver. And you look at the 2021 stats for him when he won with the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams that year. He was a great deep threat for them. 50 receptions, 802 yards. That's pretty darn good for like the third receiving option that he was that year. All right. And then the 16 yards per reception. That's pretty darn good. That shows that he's a deep threat, and he had 6 touchdowns. All right. So if you can get that out of Van Jefferson, that's great. But you look at his career stats, the last 2 years just hasn't been great, man. 24 and 20 catches respectively. He had a really hard time in Arthur Smith's offense when he got traded at the trade deadline. Things didn't go well, and he didn't even have a single touchdown during the 2023 season. So this is still somebody with potential. You're hoping that he can stay healthy, and he is talented, okay? But the big question is, can Van Jefferson get back to that 2021 version of himself or even exceed it, all right? Are those injuries going to really affect the way that he can play at a high level moving forward? We're going to find out this year, because Van Jefferson could either be a nice addition for the Steelers offense and be a legit number 2 receiving option, or he could be like Allen Robinson and not provide anything to the Steelers pass game, which would be detrimental to this Steelers offense. Now let me know down there in the comments section. Will Van Jefferson surprise people this year? I think the expectations for him are super low. Do you think he exceeds those expectations? Give me a yes or give me a no to let me know what you're thinking down there in the comments. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more Steelers news and rumors content all throughout the 2024 offseason.